So, before ever writing your first line of Python code, you need to understand the tools you need to bring your ideas to life. That's where the IDE comes in. Think of coding like building a skyscraper, and your IDE, the construction site. Now, this is where you'll find your cranes, your blueprints, your tools, everything you ever need to turn your imagination into reality. Because this isn't just about typing lines of code, it's about engineering ideas into existence. But here's the thing, most beginners, they tend to skip over the IDE. It's like trying to build a skyscraper with no tools. Not here. Here, we build skyscrapers. And once you understand your IDE, you'll cut your learning curve in half and you'll double your creative power and your production time. So if you were like me, you were probably scratching your head like, wait, what's an IDE? IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. And I know that probably didn't help because don't worry, I was just as lost. But let's break it down. So, integrated is everything you need all in one place. Development, this is where the creation happens. And environment, think about it being like your digital lab. So, yeah, your IDE is essentially sort of like a coding laboratory. Your microscope is the debugger, so it identifies mistakes. Your test tubes are sort of like the terminal. Your notebook, essentially the editor. And I want you to at least think about the IDE's main mission to be that it's like making your writing, testing, and improving your code smooth and efficiently. See, not that long ago, back in the early days of programming, there were no fancy tools, just plain text editors. It was almost like writing a recipe in the back of a napkin. And if you made a mistake, it would take hours to try to figure out. It'd be like trying to pull teeth without Novocaine. Imagine hours spent searching for one missing colon. I'm convinced that programmers back then aged 10 years per project. Then came the IDE revolution, the all in one workspace that changed everything. It gave us syntax highlighting, auto completion, and even gave us the integrated debugging. It was like almost going from a hammer and chisel to laser guided tools. Come check this one out with me. All right, let's take a look at the IDE that I'm using, PyCharm. All right. So I want you to take a look at what the platform looks like. This is the code editor area. This is the console area. And this is just where the files are stored. So let's look at what it looks like when you print your first line of code. So you put an input, the computer of the brain thinks, and then you get an output, right? So that's basically what you do when you're coding in PyCharm. Now let's look at how fast we get a an error message. Okay, check it out. So you got three different ways that it identifies as an error. So you see the red squiggly line here. Then you see that it's indicated by two notifications here telling you what types of errors are taken or have taken place in this line of code. And then a more specific message in the console area. Now, I know you might think, oh wow, so these people who were actually coding before, they must be saying to people who are programming now, wow, you guys have it so easy. And I'd like to thank them. They are actually, if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't be, I guess, much more, targeted or much more specific in being able to get to the ideal outcome. So let's just fix this real quick because this kind of looks weird, right? All right, there we go. Now, in addition to like the files, the code editor, and the console, you also have plugins that help you with, productivity. And that's kind of like your treasure chest. You'll find tools like AI assistants, GitHub, custom themes. This is basically like your Iron Man upgrades. So you may be asking yourself, why PyCharm? See, after testing different IDEs, this one stood out to be the best for Python developers. It's loaded with advanced debugging and even AI integration. But a fair warning, it can be data intensive, so it can slow down your computer. So if you start to see that your computer is wheezing like it's running a marathon, you may want to take a look at it. Comment below if you're using PyCharm or if you're using something else. There's also VS Code and IDE, which is great for beginners, and I believe they have fewer bells and whistles. The key is simple: pick an IDE that fits your journey. And whether coding's for fun or building the next big thing, make it yours.